Third Cosmic Ray, checking in with a unique Memorial Day message tonight for friends and loved ones. I imagine every family has suffered great loss from war, and of course every family is proud of the sacrifices that the brave men and women made. This is a story tonight coming from my maternal side of the lineage, a story about a man I never knew, my grandfather Mitchell. Very few things were ever said about him, and I believe the reason why is because my mother and grandmother were just heartbroken that he wasn't there, and by the time he came home, he lived another 5 years and passed away. So, the few things I did know about him didn't sound very positive, and in fact, all those things were quite misleading. The pain that these women suffered blocked out the memories that were beautiful, and that's what happens with a lot of us. So, this is an opportunity for me to clear any negative feelings that I would have about war or family, and to tell that unconscious little child, whether it would be myself or my mother or my grandmother, grandfather, I love you, please forgive me. So with that being said, namaste everyone. And I would like to say this. So all the years that went by when I was growing up, they said very few things about my grandfather. And come to find out, he was the managing editor of the Custer Combateer. This is the newspaper that came back from the war once Hitler was defeated. My grandfather was in the 85th Infantry, and he was a little too old to fight. He did have secretarial skills, and he wound up being stuck even beyond the end of the war because his job was important. He was a recorder of deeds. So, my grandpa, wow. And as we go into the story, you're going to see that he's an excellent writer. So, a lot of people say, well, Suze, aren't you sad that you never knew these stories before? But it's such a blessing to know the stories now. And actually, Joe rescued a box from my father's decaying home that contained all these war letters. My grandmother lived, of course, with us. She was the closest thing to love that I ever knew growing up. And she was the breadwinner and took care of everybody. I mean, sure, my dad was a policeman, but his money went to other things, and that's okay. So, this is my grandpa, and we have so many albums. This is 36 days in his life that we're going to be going through in this large collection. So, the first thing I have is a letter from the Hotel Continental in Kansas City, Missouri. It's dated September 25th, 1941. And it says, "Honey, the National Philatelic Society had their national convention here today. And as this stamp and cover could not be had anywhere else in the world, and only today, I sent Charles and Flossie each one. If what they tell me here is true, they will be of real value for reason. Also, send one each to Flynn and Mitchell." So, my grandpa must have had a pretty good job because he was playing golf with some dealers that day, and he hasn't heard a word except strictly business from the office. So he doesn't really know how things stand. I'm sure at this time the whole world was preparing for war. I can only imagine, so we're drawing a picture. He finishes this letter by saying, "So the cards lost out completely today, didn't they? Hope to be seeing you in about 10 days, but not for sure, of course. Also, hope you are back to par and maybe we can both go to the dentist together. That's lovely. So, here's that stamp on this letterhead. Now, of course, I don't know if it's valuable. It's really more sentimental, of course. All right. This is the first letter from 1943, dated November 30th.